Hello and welcome back to Darren and Doing. I'm Will Hester and I'm joined by the brilliant Ben Bowman. Ben, how you doing, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. We signed the fucking player, haven't we, mate? We signed the boy. I know.
Do you know what?
Finally.
Do you know what? We were taking a piss out of it last week, saying because we didn't actually know who it was. It was just we're signing a South Korean wonder kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were like, I'll take it. I'll take it. But he looks sick.
He
actually looks so good.
So good.
But we'll get into him. We'll get into him in a minute. But how's your day going, mate? All right.
It's going all right, thanks, mate. Did a live stream this morning on YouTube. So come and join over there if you want to watch them. Got a video coming out later. What about you, mate?
I'm having a shit day, I can't lie. I'm better now.
Yeah.
But it just started like the worst. My girlfriend works in this coffee shop, and she did the open and she does the closing. She's working on her own, and so I went to surprise her, and parked on a double yellow.
Oh, mate,
got a fucking ticket, mate.
Oh.
Got a ticket. I was there for I was gone for 2 minutes, and it was on my way to work. I actually lost money on that shift.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I came back from a shift to work £16 less.
Under.
Under.
So you was there for 2 minutes and someone...
Oh, it was so annoying. But then it's my own fault. But it's just what are you doing? Why is that a job?
These things I know, yeah. They're the big... Okay, yeah. In the comments, let us know the biggest jobs worth jobs. Because it's that.
Oh, it's such a jobs worth job, isn't it?
Ticket inspectors on trains. And probably shout out you guys if you're listening. If you're a ticket inspector on train, don't stop listening.
You're a legend.
You're a legend. It's definitely such a class job. But you put parking people just generally I'm not in the way. I'm just I'm going to surprise my girlfriend. I'm trying to do a nice thing.
And
you just cost me money.
I'm not damaging the community or anything like that. And actually, if you're one of them and you're watching, unsubscribe.
yeah. We actually don't want you.
Yeah, we actually don't want you. Yeah.
We've got Proby who listens to this podcast. He's a firefighter. Yeah, we've got enough people. We've got people who do real jobs.
Yeah, he's actually doing something.
Yeah, he's doing something.
I feel like that job just makes what do you get from that job? What gratification do you get? That's just a miserable job. Yeah. You're just constantly making people feel shit.
Which Tottenham player in the squad do you think is most likely to be someone like that? Have an NPC job,
It would have been Højbjerg, mate.
100%, yeah. Højbjerg or trying to think of someone else. Who would be who don't we like Lo Celso? Someone like that. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Someone like that.
Yeah, maybe Lo Celso. Yeah, let us know in the comments what you're thinking. I'm thinking
Lloris, I reckon, which is quite ironic, seeing as he got banned from driving for for drink driving.
Hypocrite.
Yeah, exactly. He's a reformed man.
I'd fucking drink drive if that was my job.
What, be the goalkeeper? Oh
no. Anyway. Let's get into it. But before we get into it, what was the stat you just gave me, Ben?
So you lot, I know we just said if you're a parking person, unsubscribe, but we need you to subscribe because 76% of the people that watch this podcast aren't subscribed to the channel, right? So whatever you're doing now, if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever, or if you're watching it on YouTube, go over to YouTube and subscribe. It doesn't literally just do I'm going to do it now. I mean, I've already subscribed, but I'm going to unsubscribe and subscribe to show you how quickly it takes. I'm literally typing in Darren and Doing right now. Oh shit, I'm on the Darren and Doing account. Doesn't quite work. Switch to my own account. Go and subscribe to my account as well. But go and subscribe because 76%. We get decent views on these podcasts. Since we've been back for season 2 of Darren and Doing, we've put out three podcasts, and they've all got 1.9k, 1.2, and 1.1. That is the best numbers we've ever had. Yeah, thank you so much for watching.
Yeah.
Those the support has been class, but 76% of you who are watching these, there's over 1,000, nearly 2,000 of you watching. You're not subscribed. So if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, even if you're not going to watch it, just subscribe because it helps us out. It helps get the video pushed out to more people. Go and like it as well. Leave a comment. You always leave comments. We've had some really nice comments actually on the last few
honestly,
pods.
That's been amazing. Yeah, so keep leaving them. Obviously,
please. And actually, there's a thing now on Spotify where apparently, I learned this from Lads Anonymous, that if you leave a comment on Spotify, we can actually now reply to it. I don't think you could do that
nice
before.
one. Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, no, you can do that before.
So you can now, I believe you can now reply to the comments. So make sure you leave comments. But most importantly, subscribe. And also, like, if you do listen to us on Spotify and Apple, follow us in there and stuff like that. But the support over the last month has been really good. We've had nearly 5,000 views. We've gained 100 subscribers in the last month. But we want to gain more. We want to get to 1,000, right? We want to. That's where we want to be. So yeah.
And if you don't subscribe, we're going on strike.
Yeah, we're not doing the podcast.
The pod. Yeah, and Ben's even agreed to just give up his TikTok as well.
Yeah, TikTok's gone. I'll delete my TikTok account. And bear in mind, talking about like people who do jobs. This is my job now, and this is what I'm willing to put this on the line. I'm gonna delete my YouTube channel if you don't subscribe.
This running order for this ep, all the effort I put. This took me 3 minutes to write up. All that effort's for you.
Yeah, exactly. You should be grateful.
Yeah. So hit that subscribe button.
No, we're joking. We love you so much. So, but
yeah, honestly,
we don't want to beg you, but it's just it does help us out, and it helps get the pod out, and also it helps create a bigger community of people that want to listen to us that you can engage with. So, and go and follow us on Twitter as well.
Well, send us to your mates and that. Like, spread the word. Exactly. Spread the Darren and Doing word. But honestly, thank you so much for the support. Honestly, and the comments have been unreal, and it actually like means so much. Like, so I'm getting emotional now.
Yeah. Stop. No, you look emotional, mate. And we want to know this. We want to know the people who subscribed as well. So if you have just subscribed off the back of that little mini rant from us two, write. I don't know, what can I write in the comments? Angie's balls.
Just put a little thumbs. Yeah, Angie's balls.
Yeah, just put a thumb up.
Or a little thumbs up.
Yeah.
Or thumbs up or Angie's balls.
Yeah.
Not both.
Thumbs up or Angie's balls.
Yeah, sweet. All right, legends. Thank you so much. So Ben, we have signed Yang-Min-Hyeok.
Yep.
Is that it?
I believe that's how you pronounce it. There's different ways of spelling it and different ways of pronouncing it.
Same with Son though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's Son Heung-Min,
Heung-Min Son.
Heung-Min Son, yeah.
But I think what Alistair Gold was saying that apparently he's gonna be Yang, like you know how Son is Son. It's gonna be Yang. So
Yangy.
Yang, Yangy, yeah.
Yangy.
Go on, Yangy. Come on, boy. So
I can see it.
Yeah, especially if he's running down the wing, like it's gonna be Yang. Go on, Yangy. Go on, like Sonic.
He looks like that sort of player though that gets you off your
he does.
feet.
He does. And a lot of people are like, yeah. A lot of people are like the next Son regen kind of thing. And I definitely see that. There's a video on my channel where I kind of broke it down a bit, and I think the Son comparisons. Don't get me wrong, like someone put a compilation of, which I'm sure a lot of Spurs fans have seen, of some of his best bits and clips and that, and you can obviously go and watch it. There's a few moves and there's a few things that he does where you're like, okay, right, that is Sonny. There's one like turn and shot that he has in one of them, which gets saved by the goalkeeper, that is especially Sonny-like. There's a couple of curled goals from the edge of the box into the far corner that are like, okay, yeah, that's Sonny. But I think he's definitely more of the kind of that touchline dribbly winger that Son isn't now, but maybe he was when he kind of first broke through at Leverkusen. So there's definitely similarities, but I think the comparisons more come in terms of the fact that they see his potential as being the next Son, as in terms of the next big Korean star. But he looks class, mate. He looks very, very good. Yeah.
What's your expectation of him? And also, what type of player is he mostly like? Because I see him a little bit like a Rodrigo type player. Just like, I don't know, just like so much flair, so much skill, constantly running at the fullback. He's not the biggest, but I feel like he'll grow more.
Yeah.
But he just looks, and his end product looks class as well.
Yeah.
Both-footed. That's something that he does have from Son. He looks so both-footed going either way.
Step
at
over.
18
he's
years
got
old, that's such he's got that step over, and that finesse. But at 18 years old, that's such a valuable facet to have. So I don't know what his expectation is, because I can see him coming in January, playing Europa League, scoring a winner in Seville. Yeah. I can also maybe see him being the Korean Brian Hill.
Hopefully not.
I'm joking. What he has that Hill doesn't, because obviously they look quite slight in frame and that.
Looks more robust.
He has that burst of acceleration that Hill did not have.
Yeah.
And in the Prem. You need that. You need that explosiveness, and I feel like Yang has that. I think with Yang, you're gonna. I'm only comparing them just because their size and their frame, because they both look quality in the compilations. But he'll never adapt into the Premier League.
Yeah,
and we thought he'd fill out a bit more. But I still think apparently Yang's grown. I think he's a few inches like within the last year.
Yeah.
He used to be 171 centimeters or something. And now he's like 176 or something like that. I think he's 5'9".
He's a little growth spurt.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
He looks
I don't
serious
know
as well. Do you know what I mean? He looks serious. Like, and in the kind of the interviews and stuff like that, he's like very determined and looks like he on what you said about what expectations there are for him. There were, because obviously when they did the press conference in Japan, they couldn't really talk about him because he hadn't been announced. But Postecoglou today was like, he said, "We're delighted to have him as part of the club. He's someone who was identified by our scouting department. We're always looking to the future as well as the present." He's very excited. Oh, there was another quote as well. That wasn't quite the one, where he essentially said, like, he is a player for now and the future, which is kind of what he just said there. But he did say that, I'm pretty sure he said, it might have been that quote, actually. It might have been, I might have been dreaming this. But I'm sure he said something else, like, when he comes in, he's going to be part of the team.
Really? So do you think the expectation is he's not going to get loaned out again in Jan? He's going to be straight in the team and see how he does?
I don't think, I think so. Because I think it's the way the deal's done. It isn't necessarily that he's being loaned back there. I think it's just that it's a deal that's agreed for him to join in Jan.
He finishes his season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A bit like kind of like Bergvall. Like it wasn't a loan back, was it? But I suppose it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But it seems like that. I'm sure there was another quote that I saw. I'll try and find it while we're talking. But
what would you like to see from him though? Like, what's the expectation on him, right? Like when he does come in January, obviously you're looking forward. We don't know where we're going to be in January. Yeah. We have no idea. You can't even make guesses because we haven't even made that many signings. So we don't actually know the level of our squad for when we are in January. But January is where the sort of every team starts to sort of collapse and cave in with fitness, and obviously we're going to be in an extra competition. So maybe there is going to be more of a reliance on someone like Yang to come in and have that bit of creative spark, that bit of energy. He's such a hard worker when he plays. You see, like, he's relentless. He's a player that epitomizes an Ange Postecoglou winger. It's just whether he's ready for this Premier League move. That jump is so severe and so extreme that you're guessing he'd have to have an adaptation period. And in January, it's hard to hit the ground like running. Everyone's in the momentum, the swing of things.
Yeah.
But if he's just completed the season, he may be sharp and match fit. But it's just, I wouldn't mind him maybe maybe just seeing what he's got in his locker for 6 months, and then maybe sending him on a loan to maybe the Bundesliga or in the summer. Yeah. I don't know. 18. Like it's just, and we've got so many of these players. Like we've got so many players that's just so young.
Yeah.
That you need, we're almost overloaded with them, aren't we?
Like I
said to you, like, Andrew's so good at tapping up teenagers, he needs to be on some sort of register. Because how many young wonder kids have we just recruited out of in the last couple of years?
Sounds getting weird now, isn't it?
Andrew, fucking hell. But I mean, we have to manage these players appropriately and give them the development they need to reach their potential. And when we've got so many, it's almost like who stays and who goes.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking? What you expect? Like, what's your expectations towards him in January?
I think like you're kind of right, because we saw obviously last January for Spurs was a bit more hectic because of the international tournaments, obviously the Asia Cup and the African Cup of Nations. So we lost a lot of players, but we also had a lot of players injured as well during that time. So our squad was like massively exposed. So I think there is a chance, especially with how big the benches are now in the Premier League. There's no reason why he can't get on that. Obviously, he's going to go straight into the Premier League squad regardless because he's underage. Europe might be a bit different. Someone he's probably able to let us know in the comments after about registering him to play in Europe. Again, it's a smart signing in the sense of in a few years' time, he will be club trained by Spurs for those European competitions, because you have to be at the club 3 years before you turn 21. So he will be club trained in a few years, which is great. Because obviously Spurs have got a little bit of a problem on their hands in that aspect. It's the same with Bergvall as well, and same with Vuskovic. That's why they sign these players at that age. Well, obviously because they're good as well, but I think you're right. I think we'll see minutes off the bench from him potentially in January. I think he'll probably keep him around until the summer, and then if they feel like it's ready for a loan, then, or who knows, he could come in and hit the ground running and be like, okay, right, well, you're here and compete. It's probably one of those things where if he goes on loan next season, we're in the stage of talking next season now, aren't we? This season is the season coming up. Next season is the year. Yeah. I think it'll probably be one of those ones where like he comes on tour and that with the squad and gets the full preseason, and then if they see a deal come up towards the end of the window, then they loan him out. Then if something suits, a bit like some of the younger players.
The Liga, I think, as well.
The Liga's a good shout, yeah. The Liga or Germany, like you said. And again, you kind of mentioned it with Son about his relentlessness and his work rate. I think that's definitely something that Yang gets from Sonny, for sure. And again, it must be amazing for Yang to kind of come and play with the guy who is arguably one of the most famous sports person they've ever had. And, they're kind of the most like the biggest player in their, well, not even player, but the biggest guy in their country. Like, it must be amazing for him to come in. You even saw it in Japan, like the reception Sonny was getting in Japan, like let alone Korea. So it must be amazing for him. And he's kind of spoken about that in some of the quotes and said, obviously, Sonny was a big influence on my decision. Again, to kind of put to bed all stuff about it being a club signing for shirt sales and all that. Would Man City, Chelsea, or Liverpool sign him as a club signing for shirt sales? Because they were interested in him as well, apparently, or one of them was, because they turned down a proposal from one of those clubs, a Premier League club that's recently won the Champions League, because he had his heart set on Tottenham. So, and again, that whole argument about shirt sales always makes me laugh, because they wouldn't sign a player if they thought he was going to generate money for shirt sales if they didn't think he was going to be a good player, because nobody's going to buy a shit player shirt, are they? Like, it's that whole argument. True. I always find it kind of being a bit redundant. Naturally, I think there would have been part of their thinking, because why wouldn't you? Like, it makes sense if you've got, how lucrative, and I don't want to make it just seem like it is a money thing for Spurs, but the Korean market is incredibly lucrative for Tottenham. And also, we've built an incredible fan base there, like incredible. And one of the things that I've been really noticing on this tour in Japan and Korea, they had the open training today, and obviously when they were playing in Japan against Vissel Kobe, people are like, oh, they're just here for Sonny, don't care. I saw a girl crying because the Vicario gave her gloves, and again, like you can say, should people be doing that or whatever, but they love this team. Like they love this team. They don't. And I hate saying they to like generalize people, but like, you know what I mean? Like our Asian fan base adore this team. The gateway was Son, but they're in now. And I think it's
embedded within the Tottenham culture now. Yeah,
exactly. Did you see Alistair Gold's stat that was like the Korean population is 51 million, and apparently in a survey, 12 million people said they're Spurs fans.
Yeah,
that's probably more Spurs fans in Korea than in England.
Probably.
Probably. It's a bigger percentage anyway. So I think like I said, the adaptation period there's naturally going to be some for Yang, but I'm really excited about it. Ange seems very excited about him. He seems like someone who's going to come in and work hard and knuckle down from the start, and he looks very, very exciting, very, very exciting. Can go on both sides, pacey, burst of pace, good finisher. Kind of looks like the perfect Ange winger, like you said before, and I think that means that he's gonna have a good career for us in the Premier League as well. So good one for the future for sure.
Seems humble, like you say. He's gonna be homegrown at some point. Maybe we don't loan him for that reason. But I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna get into Kulusevski and his quotes and Kulusevski and Bofald's relationship. Next year we could have the same with Son taking Yang under his wing.
Yeah.
I mean, and just help him settle and embed him into the team.
Yeah.
Actually, talking about. Go on.
I was going to say, like, it's probably a point for when we talk about Kulu, but there was a brilliant interview with Ben Davis as well earlier this week, and Kulusevski mentioned it in his interview with Alistair Gold, talking about Sonny as the captain. And I think that is something that so many people are quick to sort of say about Sonny, like, he shouldn't be our leader, I don't get it, all this kind of stuff. Like, I just think that's absolute bollocks. Like, you listen to the way the players speak to him, or speak about him, rather, sorry. Go and read that Ben Davis interview. I don't think we're going to touch on it that much here, and obviously we'll touch on it a bit with Kulu, but they were both kind of talking about Sonny as the leader and how it works so well because he's himself, and he doesn't see himself as kind of like, and they're still able to treat him like one of the team, and he's just such an incredible leader and leads by example, and they wouldn't really rather have anybody else. So again, like to your point with Yang coming in, I think that's going to help him settle massively as well, for sure. So yeah, it's a good point.
Keeps everyone like grounded as well. That I think he's like that role model.
Yeah, such a great environment, I think, at Spurs. I think we've seen like on this tour generally, like they're very relaxed. Everyone seems like they get on really well. Again, we've kind of seen like Spence come back into the fold a bit.
Yeah, he's even made Spence look like approachable.
And we're going to talk about Spence a bit later, but like he just the vibe and the environment feels very positive, like very, very positive. And again, it makes it easier for these players to come in and adapt, whether that's, you know, someone like Yang or more of an established new signing, which obviously we're going to get into. But yeah, I'm very pleased.
So I was saying about obviously there being an overload of young talent. We've had to ship a few players away. We touched on Højbjerg before, but quickly, it just come up just as we was literally press record. Yago Santiago's left. He's joined Elche in La Liga. What's your like instant thoughts on that? Because it is instant. It's fresh.
It's a funny one. That again, I've been thinking about Yago Santiago a lot in the last week. I've had many like comments on some of my TikTok videos. Yeah, a bit odd. But I bet a lot of people have been commenting on some of my stuff because I do a lot of videos about some of the younger players, and a lot of people have been talking about Santiago. And it's felt like for the last couple of weeks, because he wasn't included on the squad on the tour, wasn't included in the squad for the tour. He was on the bench for the first game against Hearts, and then he wasn't on the bench again after that. He then travelled with the Spurs under-21s team to, where are they? It's like they were in the Far East, weren't they? Because they played Al Ittihad, I think, or Al Ettifaq, Gerrard's team. I think they might be in Asia somewhere as well now. I'm not sure. Someone will be able to correct me if I'm wrong. So he's in that squad. So it almost felt like Santiago was someone there was so much hype around, got on the bench a couple of times last season. Something's felt like this almost, I'm not surprised by this at all. I'm not surprised. He was very much hyped up, Watching the under-21s last year, he always stood out, very exciting, tricky winger, again, kind of in that mould of Postecoglou. But maybe they've just seen it in the sense of they brought someone like Yang in, Mikey Moore, again, that development is going to continue for him. And obviously, we've got a lot of other young wingers in the sense that Kulusevski's only 24 and Johnson's only 23. Is there room for someone like Santiago? Does he see that pathway being blocked? Is it another Edwards situation? Is it another Madueke situation? Is it another, who was the other? Romain Mundle situation? Where they just don't see that pathway now because of the other. But this time, it's actually worked well for Spurs in the sense that the pathway is being blocked by other young players, like not by squad players who are kind of outstaying their welcome a little bit. So yeah, I think he'll go there and do really well. It's a funny one and it kind of caught people by surprise, but I've thought for a while that something's not been even not quite right there, or like it felt like he didn't quite have the same future that some people were hoping that he would. I don't know what you think.
Well, I think he's 21, isn't he? 21. Yeah, I feel like if he was 18, there'd be a lot more excitement around him. But I feel like you're looking at him thinking, whoa, where's he got that first team development? He hasn't. And he's only a couple of years younger than the likes of Kulusevski. I mean, he's fucking 5 years older than Mikey Moore. That's mental. That's mad. So I just think like, he's a youth prospect, but he hasn't had any first team experience. So maybe we have a sell-on clause or a buyback clause. And actually, if it is a sell-on clause, it pretty much is like a buyback clause, isn't it? Maybe we have that sort of inserted into the deal.
Same as Edwards.
But just get him, just get him out. Let him thrive in his career. La Liga's a great move, especially for a Spaniard. So I don't know. I wish him the best of luck. I just think there's too many wingers. He fitted the sort of Ange mold, but maybe he just was never ready for first team football. And he was at the age where you're looking at him thinking, a loan's a bit unproductive as well because he's a 21-year-old man. He's a man now. He's one of the eldest players in the youth team. So I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those things you just have to be ruthless with. Let him have his career, and then maybe look to bring him back if he does reach the potential that we can all see as fans. But
yeah, I agree, mate.
I don't know. I don't think I'll lose any sleep over it. I think
but I think some people will. I think some people will though. But I think it's important to remember that again, there's a lot of young talent coming through. His statement was quite an interesting one. He said,
"When did you read that?"
I just see he posted on Instagram. I saw just as we were about to record, and you mentioned it. That's why. So before we recorded, Will said, "Oh, I'll mention about Santiago at the end, and I thought you were just going to say, "Oh, what's going on with him? He's not really getting the minutes." And then I looked on Twitter just as you press record, and I said to you, "Oh, Santiago's leaving." And then I saw it because Windy from the Extra Inch tweeted. He said, "Pleased for Iago Santiago. Imo did more than enough, in my opinion, did more than enough last season to warrant a few minutes off the bench and see how he coped, especially in the absence of a player in his profile. I think that comes through in his post. The club should reflect on signing Solomon rather than playing Iago." So that's kind of interesting when you read his statement. He said, "After 5 years representing this football club, it's time to say goodbye. It's been an amazing journey learning and growing here every day with great people next to me. I want to thank the academy to give me the opportunity when I was only 16, coaches, physios, teammates, all the staff involved. I will be forever grateful to the people who really helped me and trusted me during my period at Tottenham. And a big thank you to the fans for your unconditional support. I would have liked to have made my professional debut here. This is a really special club for me and my family, but I will keep all the moments and people in my heart. I hope success, luck, and all the best in the future at Spurs." Yeah, and then he tagged Spurs and the academy. So, yeah, Windy's got a good point, and I think that does come through in his statement a little bit in the sense that when you had a player there who could have taken the minutes of, I know Solomon was injured for the whole season basically, but Brian Hill playing off the bench in the last few games, it's like, especially when you saw the likes of, don't get me wrong, this isn't digging out and for putting more on the bench because that's going to massively help him, but could there have been an extra space on the bench for someone like Iago, especially when, I don't know, especially when we tinkered around so much with the front three towards the end of the season. It's a bit of a shame, especially when you saw Brian Hill get maybe too many chances last season. So, but again,
100%.
Hill was maybe really impressive in training. We just don't know. So, I would just describe it as an unfortunate situation. But I wish him all the best, and I think he'll do really well. I think, like you said,
got a lot of
do really well.
Yeah, I think La Liga suits his gameplay down to a T. But I think Ange got a little criticism towards the end of the season because I think people were frustrated by seeing some of the same names and not giving it a fresh start. But that is always the case. There's always a period in the season where there's a bit of a disagreement between the management and the coaches and the fans that want to see young players being bled through the academy. But maybe they're just not ready. There's stuff that we don't see, but that the coaches see about. There's little assets of his game that need to be refined, and you can't see him making that improvement in that short period of time. And there's so much competition. So
it's all kind of guesswork, isn't it? A bit.
Exactly. Youth football's such a different game.
But it's so brutal as well. Like it is really, really brutal. So I think it's just best to, I think in this instance, it's kind of best to be aware of that and be like, well, like we sort of touched on, could he have got some minutes? Could he have taken minutes off some other players? But it's an unfortunate one, but we just generally wish him all the best for the future. He's a real talent. I've watched most of the under-21 games last season, but I went to a few live, and I remember there was a Man United, we played against Man United towards the end of the season. I went to the game, and I was a lot of people know this. Spurs under 21s play at Stevenage most of the time, and they only really open one stand for the games, which is the main stand on the. If you're a left winger, it's depending on which end you're attacking. So in the second half, Iago Santiago was on this side on the wing, and just watching him up close and the way he kind of took on the United right back. I actually put a clip on it. I did a little matchday vlog of it on my TikTok, and there's a clip. I started the video with a clip of him just dinking it past the right back, and he really impressed me that day. So yeah, it's a shame, but watching him in the flesh made you appreciate that he's a very good player. Is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think everyone thinks he's gonna have a good career. Well, so Brian Hill, he's out the door. I actually don't want to waste my breath on him.
Yeah,
I actually fucking okay. It's a
worst bit of transfer business we've ever done
as well. Fucking hell, yeah. Gave them Lamella. And gave him 25 mil, and then said, "Hang on, do you want Brian Hill on loan as well?" Yeah, go on. And we ended up like nothing. I think that is probably that is up there. I mean, it was actually Prachi's second signing.
Maybe the only miss other than Gillini.
Yeah, the first two were bad, weren't they?
But
at the time, we were like, "Oh my god, we've just fucking signed the next Messi! Like this kid looks so good."
I remember him coming in the Olympics for Spain and being like, "Oh my god!"
Hit the bar, didn't he? In the final, absolutely like twatted one against the crossbar. And I remember watching that and like stood up and was like, started clapping. Mate, I've never even
like
done
how
that
your dad watches TV standing up like that, just like this, just like comes into the room and just stood like this. I am stood.
I genuinely. I thought he'd grow. I thought he'd actually like hit puberty and
he'll
fill
grow.
out. And I thought he won't. I think he's maxed out. He needs those messy hormone injections. And I thought he'd cut his fucking hair as well, and it just pissed me off every time I just see his like, head
the announcement picture of him for Girona. It looked like I don't know. It was.
Who's telling him it looks
cut
good?
Your hair, mate. I know. And also cut your hair, and you better. And this is a personal message now to Brian Hill. Joe Rodon, when he went on loan to Leeds, he gave Ivan Perisic the number 14 shirt. He said, "You can have it. You can have it. If you don't give up that number 11 shirt and give it to someone else, if you keep it, I'll be fuming." That you cannot keep the number 11 shirt if you've gone on however many loans he's been on now. Just fuck off.
Such an important number as well.
I know exactly.
So wasted on the back
Brennan
of Brian's shirt.
Eze could have it. You know, Neto could have it. Mikey Moore could have it.
Moore?
Yeah.
It's not even like big shoes to fill, mate. I'm pretty sure Brian Hill's a size 3.
Yeah, it went Gareth Bale, Eric Lamela, Brian Hill.
Fucking hell, mate. I genuinely think, what if he's cut his hair, got a little skin fade and started just bossing?
Yeah.
You know what, though? Girona's a really good move for him. He'll probably do really well in the Liga. He always does.
Champions League football.
How's he managed that? Fucking hell. Have you fluked that one?
Yeah.
The same with Emerson Royale, who's joining AC Milan by the looks of things. It's a fucking unreal move for both of them. Like, fair play. I do want to ask you something, though.
Yeah.
Do you think Lange deserves a little bit more credit than he's getting with releasing a lot of our players?
Yeah, 100%.
I think he's been quite efficient in getting players out of the door. And I know that's frustrating to hear. I think the worst thing you could possibly hear during a transfer window is we got to sell to buy.
Yeah.
But he's doing it pretty quick, and they're coming thick and fast, and they're coming out of nowhere as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think he deserves a bit of credit?
Yeah, I definitely do. Højbjerg, the deal kind of came out of nowhere. Obviously, the Brian Hill thing, it was obvious that Spurs wanted to let him go, but again, that kind of did as well. Emerson has been dragging on for a while now, but it seems as if that's coming towards a conclusion. I think it's just down to fan behavior when it comes to the transfer market, driven by the fact that there are so many outlets for news, and Twitter is just an absolute cesspit during the transfer window, and so many different journalists are saying all these different things, and it's just this, like, you're spinning so many plates in your mind about what's going on, and it's like, why aren't we signing these players? Oh my God, why aren't we signing these players? Spurs don't need to sell to buy from a financial perspective, but they need to sell to buy to balance the squad. And we've been crying out for so long. Emerson's not good enough. Hill's not good enough. Højbjerg, maybe it's not fair to say he's not good enough, but again, maybe not good enough. Get him out. And Reguilon, again, Sevilla apparently looking at him. Spurs have
just
left him
to look for
now. Just get rid of him, mate.
Just release him. Yeah.
We are acting in a more efficient manner. So I think that is something that's got to be kind of commended. Again, we did well in terms of starting that rebuild a little bit last summer with obviously Sanchez going, etc., and Ndombele going on loan. But obviously we've got rid of Ndombele this summer technically as well, in terms of just like we rip up his contract essentially, didn't we?
Yeah.
So again, we're being a bit more ruthless now. So I know people were frustrated about maybe the haggling for Emerson on the price, but Emerson Royale is a good right back. Like, he is a good right back. And he'll do well. I genuinely think he'll do well for Milan. And again, I'm not saying he's been a good right back for Tottenham. I think if you look at his career, it's kind of leveled out in places, and he's had really good moments. He's obviously had terrible moments. But you can't have a go at Spurs for demanding like 20 million for Emerson Royale. I think that's a very fair bit of money. So
he's only 25 million or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also, he's not even like an old player.
No, exactly. And again, with the Lang thing, I think the signings that we have made have been positive, even though they've been at a slower pace and more in the dark. But as Anne just kind of said, the targets were the targets, and the targets are still the targets, from the start of the window. So again, Spurs fans are kind of being told that they have to have a bit more patience. And obviously we're going to come on and talk about the incomings potentially after this. But I think getting rid of those players is equally as important. I saw a tweet earlier that was like, it basically just listed the kind of the rebuild and almost the players that we've got rid of, and it really makes you kind of appreciate, like you said, what Lang has done. Perisic gone, Dyer gone, Lloris gone, Tanganga gone, Sessegnon gone, Ndombele gone, Rodon gone, Højbjerg gone, Hill gone, Emerson gone, Lo Celso going. Reguilon going, Solomon potentially going as well. So I think, I think all credit to what's been kind of going on behind the scenes in terms of what Lange's been doing.
Do you know what he's actually really good at as well? And again, what Anne said, I sort of held on to it. Anne said about, we had our transfer targets from the beginning is the same as now. But obviously we're just being patient and we're waiting for things to fall into place so we can sign them, basically, is what he said. Just be patient. But that, credit where credit's due, that's really hard to keep quiet when there's a deal in place. There's 3 deals pretty much in place that we can just pounce on, accelerate and complete. I mean, I'm thinking off the top of my head, Man United. Think about all the deals in previous years where they've made it so messy for them and given the team you're dealing with so much leverage because the media know every single detail about the deal at that along the process of it being completed, and you're so exposed, you're so vulnerable as a negotiator when that's the case. But we seem to be being efficient, but doing it very low key. And okay, we don't have a clue what's going on as Spurs fans. We're being told to keep patient, but at least it's not a messy negotiation where everything's leaked. And I think that must be so hard to do as a director of football, to keep it this under wraps. So fair play to him. I think we can only judge him at the end of it. And at the moment, okay, we've signed Yang, we've signed Gray, massive prospects. He signed Bergvall. I remember people saying he's maxed out on Bowman. All his
Dragustin as well.
Dragustin, yeah, mate. Like his young talent seems to be very good, and the sales have been really good. So maybe once we accelerate on the few deals that we're hearing about, we'll look at it and think, wow, like what a job. But at the moment, people are still giving him a bit of stick, and I think just wait until the end of the
people are just desperate. People are just desperate, aren't they? For just like a crumb of even a fragment of a bomber. Do you know what I mean? Like
dopamine hit,
like a little, even a grenade, not like a nuke. Like people are desperate for just like a little grenade.
I think with other rival clubs as well, that everyone's getting bombers everywhere, and we're just like,
are they? Like Calafiori, like Arsenal signed one player who, again, Calafiori was a pretty easy deal to do because the leverage was all with other clubs because Bologna, they've obviously sold Xerxes, they've obviously sold Calafiori. You knew that they were going to have to do that. Motta's gone as well. Like that was obviously going to happen. And again, like last summer, Maddison was an easy deal to do for Tottenham because of Leicester's financial situation. We use that to our advantage, and obviously the fact that they've been relegated. Vicario, everyone moaned about because they'd never fucking heard of him, but he's turned out to be class. Like and again, Solomon was on a free, so these deals that are going to take longer. Brendan Johnson was a hard deal to do because again, the finances of that were really complicated in terms of Forest's financial situation. I think Atletico Madrid were in for him as well. Other clubs, Brentford were in for him. So these deals, and Johnson was someone that they talked about for a long time at Tottenham. Again, it only comes out in the wash once you've actually signed him. But from what I remember, there was a lot of people. There was people saying that they've been tracking Johnson. Paratici loved him, even the season before. So, yeah, man,
it's true. Actually,
I just made my peace. Did you see that Paul O'Keefe tweet that was like, I can't get upset over Spurs anymore. I can't do it. That's kind of where I'm at. It's just like whatever happens. It's you know, we're gonna make moves, and I think it'll be fine. But yeah, I think Lang deserves a lot of credit because sometimes the hardest thing in a rebuild is actually getting rid of players. Signing some players sometimes is the easy part. So you'd rather do it that way around. And also, I know it's like we've talked about this on the last few episodes, but like with Paratici, it was like, yeah, it was great because you got these little dopamine nuggets every single day of like, oh my god, Spurs are going to sign. But thank fuck, like we didn't sign Zaniolo. You know, thank fuck we didn't sign all these other players that we were all Chiesa. You know, thank God we didn't do that. And again, like you said, Man United is such a good kind of comparison because it's like you feel like their business is being hung out to dry like kind of dirty laundry, and everyone knows the ins and outs of it, and it kind of makes them lose all the leverage. Whereas with Tottenham, it's like if you can just work in the background as much as possible. What would you rather? Would you rather get all the targets that you want, but they all come at the end of the window, but you want them, or would you rather sack that off and go like, "Oh God, we're waiting too long now. We've got to sign someone," and then just go and panic buy? So, yeah, I'm what's the Haaland thing where you sat down and it was like, I'm zen.
Zen, yeah. Sweet, mate. Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you just said. Chiesa, I don't even want to talk about Chiesa because that's just such like agent talking.
Boring.
But Paul O'Keefe is still saying that, or he's hearing that we're still ready to accelerate on 3 deals.
Yeah.
So Yang wasn't a part of that. So which is very good.
Has he said that again, or is it?
Yeah, he said that. Unless it was a troll account, I've been trolled. But I'm pretty sure he said that in one of the replies. But he also said that we want to shore up the midfield. And he said you do the maths, because they were saying they were referring Fabrizio Romano, who's keeps saying that we just want one more offensive player.
Yeah.
So I think Paul O'Keefe was saying a midfielder. You sort of like work it out with your common sense. 3 signings. We need defensive cover. We need to shore up the midfield, Paul O'Keefe was saying, and then we need an offensive player. So I don't know. How do you feel about that? How do you feel? And does that midfield mean we're still in for number 8?
Yeah.
I mean, Conor Gallagher.
Fuck
no.
Be careful.
Almost swallowed my tongue doing that. Conor Gallagher is close to joining Atletico Madrid. So
they were never going to let him have us for like 30, 40 million.
Oh my God, yeah, we don't have to hear about that dickhead.
Yes!
yeah, this means more than a trophy. Like, generally, I'm so tired of just seeing him. And actually, him going to La Liga just does us run a world of good.
Yeah, he'll be brilliant now.
No one has to see his face anymore.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, he probably would be really good.
But that I don't give a shit about that. Like, he could do really well there. And it's like, oh, maybe we should have signed him. But also, doesn't that make it? They're signing all of these young prospects from Brazil and fucking wherever else, and they've sold their captain. I know he's not their captain, but their guy who captain from a lot last season. Kind of just sums up modern football. I saw a tweet earlier. It was like poaching loads of South American teenagers and selling the academy graduate who captained you for most of last season to afford it. Everything that's wrong with modern football summed up. So at least we're not them. You know, at least we're not them. That tweet. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think we'll go for a number 8 then, still, or maybe a number 6, or do you think he's maybe talking about an attacking mid like Eze, or?
Yeah, I think they maybe do see Eze as the midfielder potentially, and then a winger. I don't think it'll be a striker. I'm not sure. I mean, contrary to the fact that I put out a great YouTube video that was edited by Will and the thumbnail done by Will last week of which striker should Tottenham sign this summer, I don't think we're going to sign one. So, but still go watch it.
He also said. Go watch that and just imagine we will sign a striker. But he also said that Richarlison's not interested in Saudi. And
I think Richie wants to stay. I don't think he wants to go out. I think he wants to stay.
Everything, but he's even saying that. Like, every time there's a rumor, Richarlison will just come out and be like, "It's fucking false. Like, it's not true." Like, he's obviously pleading that he wants to. Very, very far. Actually, mate, that's Pedro Neto, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, look, he could. I mean, what deal is out there for Richarlison if Saudi isn't? Because I'm trying to think, what is the highest possibility? And I'm thinking, highest possibility is probably Richarlison stays.
Yeah.
And in that case, I'd happily get Jonathan David or something for 25 mil. But
yeah. But do we sign it? I don't think, again, that video that we did last week, obviously you were in it and you were talking about Tony. I don't think we sign a striker unless Richie does go. Like, I think that's kind of been the process all along. I think they'll look to replace him and also I don't think, as much as I love Richie, I don't think that. I think Saudi is maybe one of the only options anyway, because I don't think that European clubs, certainly not a Premier League club, maybe European clubs as well, would take the gamble for the money, knowing how injury prone he is. I think I think it's Saudi or nothing for Richie.
PSG,
yeah. Barca. They tried him before, didn't they? When it was Everton, Everton turned down, what was it, like 80 million or something for Richarlison then, and we got him for less a few years later.
Mate, they'd offer us Samuel and Titty.
Yeah.
And
and
drop the Emerson Royale sell-on clause or something.
Yeah.
They have no money to. Yeah.
Oh, you let us sign Nico Williams and you can have Richarlison.
I reckon that Ange Postecoglou has it in him to gaslight Juan Laporta on a phone call.
Oh yeah, the aura would spread through the room like a musky scent.
Yeah. You need a swap, Yamal for Richie, mate. Trust me. Laporte's like,
that was, you know, in the
Euros.
Euros. Yeah, you know, in the Euros, he was like, you know, so great to see the young players, and you obviously got a 16-year-old wonder kid there. That was the start of the 4D chess from Ange, the punditry. And then at the end of it, when we sign Yamal and they get Richie, it's like, it was all up here.
Well, I don't know. Barca is a good shout. PSG's there. I mean, with that Osimhen deal looking like it's going to fall through, but I don't know. To be honest, mate, I think we're just going to keep him, and I don't really care.
I think as long as we sign a big attacker, I'm kind of fine with it. Yeah. Okay, right. Here's the situation then. Keep Richie and Sonny, obviously, as a striker option. Sign Neto or someone else as a winger or Eze potentially. But then you know that if you've... Obviously, I'm with you. Like, the worry is the breakdown for Richie when... I'm not talking about mentally, I'm talking about physically. Like, in the Europa League with the amount of minutes and the kind of pressure of that, etc. Like, will Lancashire, like, does that feel you a bit? If Lancashire continues to smash it in pre-season and they say that he's not going to go out on loan, if Spurs start next season, as long as they've signed a big winger potentially or a versatile forward or whatever you want, but the three striker options are Sonny, Richie, and Lancashire, are you happy with that? Are you taking that? Are you fine with that?
No,
you're not.
I'm not, to be honest. No, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to kick on with it. I mean, we have an extra competition. Yeah, Lancashire can cover, but that's a big ask.
It is a bit.
We weren't in Europe last year, and I know Son had the Asian Cup, but we struggled. And by the end of it, Son looked leggy. Every time Richarlison played, he looked unbelievable, but he played 15 games. And if we sign Pedro Neto, I mean, between them, they're going to get 30 games. Yeah. And I just think we're going to be back to square one. Son up front, people moaning because we're playing against a low block. And we haven't got that 1v1 specialist. So that's where I'll be worried. But I do wonder, and this leads me on to my next question. I do wonder whether the plan was to sign multiple people up front. We've looked at who we've got in pre-season and thought, fuck me, Mikey Moore's ready. And we've gone, we do not want to keep blocking the pathways. Like I said, Santiago left, there isn't a pathway for him. Yeah. If we then sign like Neto and another unbelievable winger, which a lot of people want, or Eze or etc., you're looking at it thinking, what's Mikey Moore going to think? Yeah. He is generational. He outperforms the senior players in these preseason games. He scored 6 goal contributions in how many games this season in preseason alone? Yeah. I reckon Ange Postecoglou's looked at him and gone, "Fuck me, mate. We've got a player on our hands."
Superstar.
Yeah, and the way he's talking about Moore as well, you can tell. I mean, we said it on the last ep. Postecoglou don't like hyping people up too much unless he's asked, but he really showed him a lot of praise. So I think we're looking at Moore and thinking, one, he's the Son successor, has to be.
Agree.
But two, maybe he's good enough to just hit the ground running and play and be almost like a new signing. But we again sign that other winger and try and manage his minutes like accordingly. But the reason we're going to get into Kulusevski, but Kulusevski's been talking about playing centrally.
Yeah,
Mikey Moore could play centrally. Do you think that might be us thinking looking and Alfie Devine's been brilliant as well?
Mate,
do you think we might be thinking, should we spend 60 mil on Eze? Because Kulusevski's been saying he's been training centrally, and I think if we got the idea is to sign Eze, I don't think that makes sense to keep playing Kulusevski central.
Yeah,
because we've got Bergvall, we got Moore who can play there, we got Devine who's been unreal, Kulusevski's been central. Obviously, you've got Maddison. Where does Eze come in and fit in this team? I just don't know.
It is true. It is true. But I think one thing I would say to counteract that would be, you saw last season how many times Ange changed things in game. Like, he'd often start with Kulusevski as the right winger, then he'd take a midfielder off, and then he'd put Kulusevski in that number 8 and then bring Johnson on. So I think there's going to still be a lot of that kind of jiggery pokery, like figuring things out in games, and kind of, especially with the amount of games as well. I think Kulusevski's going to play a lot on the right, play a lot in the middle, play. There's a striker potentially as well, and that versatility I think is going to serve him massively well. And obviously, we're going to come on to talk about Kulu in a bit more detail. But you are kind of right in that sense. Does it then make sense to sign Eze? But also, I think Eze does offer that as well in terms of being able to play in multiple positions. So it's not like you're signing Eze as someone who he is the number 10. So does that then block Kulu and Moore playing in those positions? Obviously got Maddison as well. You've still got the same thing with Eze where you could potentially play him out wide as well, or even maybe as a false 9 or something like that. I think this attack for Spurs next season is going to be a lot more fluid. Maybe there are these regimented kind of patterns of play that we like to build up with, and I think we know what a typical Ange goal is, and I think we've seen that a lot in pre-season.
Yeah,
but I do think there's going to be room for a bit more fluidity, maybe that front three, and I think that kind of points towards maybe not signing a striker and maybe signing a versatile midfielder who can play as a 10 or maybe out wide potentially, then signing an out-and-out wide player who can maybe play on both flanks. But I think one thing as well was worth bearing in mind with the Mikey Moore thing is that, so me and Flav did an episode of The Lab specifically talking about Mikey Moore, and one thing that we both spoke about was it actually now, I know we're talking about the pathways being blocked, etc., and this might contradict it a little bit, but it actually makes the Werner signing make more sense now. Because if you've got Werner on loan for another year, or sorry, not make the Werner sign make more sense, but make the loan rather than the buy make more sense. Because if you've got Werner, someone that I know people might not agree, but you can rely on Werner as an option. I'm not saying that you can rely on him to score 20 goals. I'm saying that he is solid. Like you can rely on him.
He does provide, yeah.
So have they loaned Werner for another year? Because then next season, they see that as right. Sorry, thanks, Timo. Nice one, mate. Off you pop. That's then Mikey Moore's guaranteed space. Then you maybe go out and sign another winger because then you see Sonny maybe coming to the end in a year after that.
I said that like a few episodes back about Werner's almost like that Longley loan.
You did, yeah.
In the fact that I don't see us. I mean, I see it being almost like we don't know how ready Mikey Moore is, but we don't want to sign that big star player and play him in that Mikey Moore's position, just in case Moore goes, fuck off, like I'm off. City are on the phone, Dortmund on the phone, Chelsea, United. So I think we've signed Werner to be like, look, we're not going to sign him permanently, but he provides this year just in case you're not ready. And there's going to be minutes to be shared around.
Yeah.
Not an out-and-out starter that is going to completely block the pathway. And Longley was almost like that. I know we didn't have anyone on our books, but we knew it was a stopgap until we've signed the perfect player, which was Van der Ven. And I actually think that we're kind of doing that. I don't think we're going to sign a centre-back now, which everyone's thinking about. Everyone at the beginning of the window said we need that, because I think we're looking at someone like Vuskovic, who looks fucking class, and I'm thinking Ben Davies has got one more year. Don't it make sense to just wait it out? If we sign another centre-back, they're not going to... Sorry, I'm going on a rant here. But they're not going to be like, well, I'm going to join and be fourth centre-back. Who wants to do that? And two, what was the point in signing Vuskovic if you then sign another young, excellent centre-back? Because there's just an overload of players. Dorrington as well. So...
And Archie Gray, and Gray.
Oh,
It's not... Obviously, Spurs don't see his future there necessarily, but if they look at Gray next year and go, oh, well, we've got a bit of an injury problem with, I don't know, Dragusin or whatever. Again, it's pre-season and all that, but he's still an option. So I think you're completely right. I think they'll keep Davis. I think they'll see Gray as a versatile enough option to play anywhere in that midfield and defence potentially as well. So I'm with you. I don't think they'll sign one.
Yeah, and it's the same. I just think it's the same, like you're saying, same with that Mikey Moore and Timo Werner. I think it's smart planning. I think it's smart and pragmatic in a good way.
Yeah, it's not sexy, but it works. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like a nice set of underwear. It's like does the job, but like it's enough to get you like, oh, that's nice. But like it's not like proper. Wow, this is incredible. On that, I made a TikTok video yesterday about Mikey Moore, saying about off kind of the back of the quotes from Ange, which is probably important to read out, talking about his development, saying, and again, like you said earlier, Ange doesn't necessarily give players praise for the sake of it, does he? Really? Like he's obviously very like loving and very like does want to big players up, but and even Alistair Gold was saying when he talked about Mikey Moore in the press conference, he was saying that he's super excited. And it's like I've never heard him speak about that about anyone really before.
No.
But he said Mikey's been fantastic since we brought him in. He's earned his spot on the roster at the moment. He did at the end of last year. He got a run with the first team because we could see him in training that he was handling himself really well. There was quotes as well saying, I remember around the North London derby saying he's not looked out of place. Do you remember that?
Yeah. That was early days as well.
Yeah, we could see him in training that he was handling himself really well. Followed that through into pre-season. He's been good in all the games. He probably should have had 3 goals tonight. This was off the back of the game on Saturday. But he did take his goal really well, being in the right areas. Again, that's something that's really important, I think, in the sense that for these attacking players that step up into this system, I think it's a lot easier for them as well, because especially when you're stepping onto the pitch with players who have got more of that experience, who can guide you through games. When you play on the front foot, that just lets the shackles free a little bit for these attacking players. Again, we spoke about, I can't remember if we spoke about it in the last episode, or I definitely spoke about it with Flav on Sunday.
Yeah, you said it on the lab. Sick episode, by the way.
Thanks, mate. When we had like Troy Parrott and Dane Scarlett, and this is going on a bit of a tangent, but I will get there in a sec. Harry Kane was obviously the striker. Everything in the team went through Kane under Mourinho and Conte. So there was a much bigger sense of pressure for these players coming through as the striker, being like, oh God, well, okay, well, if Kane gets injured, then we're just going to have to play Son through the middle and just do something completely different. Whereas now, I think that where the team is very much set up on, the team doesn't go through one player, right? When you look at it in terms of how your fullbacks attack as number 10s, you've got obviously your number 10s in Maddison, your Kulusevskis, you've got the wingers. There is so much of an onus on them. Sonny as well. There's not one player that the team goes through. So I think it's a lot easier actually for someone like Mikey Moore to step up into this team now, because the responsibility isn't on him so much. It's like, if he steps onto the pitch off the bench next season in the Premier League, and he's got Sonny and he's got Maddison and he's got Kulusevski on the pitch with him as well, we know that we're going to create enough chances in games for someone like Mikey Moore to potentially just get on the end of a cross and get a goal like he was doing on Saturday. So I don't think that, and also then that, imagine if he's just able to get a couple of goals by being in the right areas, and imagine the confidence that then that allowed him to play with, knowing I've scored a goal for Tottenham in a proper game, right? It might have been a tap in on the line like he did against Vissel Kobe, but again, that was down to his movement, of course, clever movement. But I just think there's not as much pressure for him now, because not everything goes through one player. So there isn't as much of an onus on these younger players to step up and feel that. But he said as well, all we can do is keep allowing him to develop. And I made a TikTok video about this yesterday, about I kind of said that I see Moore as almost, hopefully, as the next Foden. I don't want to put that pressure on him in the sense that, like, you know, obviously Foden is a world-class player and there is hope that maybe Moore can be that as well. But I want to see that same pathway for development there for Moore. Foden never went out on loan. He was kind of fed minutes when he was ready. I think he played 10 games in the year that he made his debut. Then it was 20 odd. Then it was 38 in the Premier League that the year after. Like, it just grew and grew and grew. Moore made his debut when he was younger than Foden. So I feel like that development plan has already started. Never went out on loan, working with Guardiola all the time. And I want to see the same with Postecoglou, because we've got a manager now who is there for the long term, who can continue to kind of put that arm around the shoulder, let him play with the first team. And the fact that he's been training with the first team since April tells you that I think he's going to be a first team player next season in some way, shape or form, whether that's off the bench a lot or who knows. But that's great. That is amazing. And I think it's perfect for that. Again, it's kind of different with Spurs and City as well, because I think there'll be more chances for Mikey Moore, because City were in the Champions League, obviously. You can't rotate as much necessarily, although City had a big squad. He wasn't willing to use Foden as much, and City fans were clamouring for him to play. But again, with the Europa League next season, there will be more minutes for Mikey Moore, because we will have to rotate the squad more, so he will get more opportunities than maybe someone like Foden did at the same age. So I want to see that kind of development path there for Mikey Moore, similar as to what was there for Foden at City. And he finished that by saying, I think the future with a lot of our young guys looks pretty promising, but it's our responsibility to make sure they realise their potential and continue to work hard at their game. So that's what I want to see. I want to see that Foden blueprint there for Moore, I think. Ow.
But also, 100%. I thought you were doing that because of the quote you just dropped.
Yeah, fire.
Yeah, no, 100%. And actually, in theory, it should be easier for Mikey Moore to get into the Spurs team than Phil Foden getting into the Man City's Pep Guardiola team, no?
Yeah, exactly.
On paper, I know he's a year younger than what Foden was. Actually, no, because 17, he's turning 17 as the season starts. So, it's so exciting. It's so exciting that we have someone like that in our arms, in our hands. I can't wait to see what he achieves this season. And I think every year, like you're saying, he's just going to be on that upward trajectory now.
Yeah.
And I think Flav was saying in the lab as well, he just looks like a bloke as well. Like, he doesn't look like a kid.
No,
I mean,
he
Brian
Hill at all, does he?
No, he looks like he could have been like a role model in Brian Hill's life. already, or something like that. Like someone Brian Hill's looked up to in his Spurs career. It looks like the other way. But
yeah, Mikey Moore's got a skin fade.
Yeah, fucking Brian Hill. Look at Mikey Moore. He's 7 years younger than you. Pathetic fucking prick.
And look at us.
Look
like,
at Mikey Moore. Look what he's doing.
Both got skin fades, and we've got a podcast. Like, what the fuck are you doing, Brian Hill?
Yeah, fucking waste man. Mate.
Basically, what we're trying to say is skin fades are the key to success.
Yeah,
just are
exactly. Yeah. Mate, I can't lie. I'm about a minute away from either passing out or fucking
the heat
getting
is
my tits out.
Yeah,
Jesus, I'm sweating.
It's very hot for anyone that's listening to this. Not in England, it's very warm here, and we say by very
like first hot day of the summer.
I might need to open my window as well, but we're done. This is good work. I imagine also the have you seen like the heat in? Did you see like the players talking about the heat like in Korea?
Yeah, I've seen that. The humidity.
They had to play like the youngsters played a warm up game, didn't they? On the Thursday, they had to play like 60 minutes because it was just too hot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, mate. It's ridiculously hot. I don't want to open the window because there's so much like external noise outside my house.
Should we wrap it up by talking about Kulu? Let's talk about
exactly. Kulu. Yeah, let's do it. So someone who is running hot.
Yeah, nice. He's got skin fade as well.
yeah. Is Dejan Kulusevski. He's been playing centrally. Before we actually talk about his quotes, you're going to get into the quotes, aren't you?
Yeah.
I want to talk about his performances in pre-season as well, because he's looked very, very comfortable and confident in those central positions, and has talked, like I've said before, he's talked about him taking up more of a central role in training.
Yeah, he has.
On his performances so far.
I think it's been great. Again, I did the stream on Sunday after the Vissel Kobe game. It's kind of what we learned from that, and that was a big part of what I wanted to talk about, because I think that, don't get me wrong, he wasn't perfect there, and I'm not saying that he's the solution to Tottenham's number 9 problems, but I think he can definitely aid that, whether it's playing as a false 9, as more of a 9, or even just a bit deeper in a 10 with someone else there. I think he's spoken so much before he came to Tottenham, since he's been at Tottenham, about how he sees himself more as that central player. And again, like you said, in training, he's been training more centrally. And again, that says a lot, because he obviously came into the team. Like, one of the quotes was said, I think last year was the first time I played as a number 10 in the Premier League, so people could see what I can do from that position. Obviously, under Conte, like when he was even playing as a winger, he did drift centrally a bit more because we had the wing backs. But naturally under Ange, like with the way that the fullbacks invert, the wingers hold the width. This upcoming season, I've been playing in the middle in training sessions. I'm in the beginning of games, but I also know that sometimes I'll have to play other roles and I'll have to be prepared to do everything. One thing that I want to talk about, just that stands out, I think, from these kind of quotes and this brilliant interview that Alistair Gold did with Kulu, is just Kulu's mentality, just generally. He said, because ultimately the only goal is to win, so it doesn't matter where you play, you just have to do what's best for the team always. And I think that's so undervalued with Kulusevski. I spoke about this on stream earlier on this morning. I think Kulusevski is slowly becoming a leader in this team, with the way that he presses, with how hard that he works. And also, there were some good quotes on Bergvall, which we'll come into. And we sort of spoke about this before we started, about almost that big brother. Like, he's that big brother now in the squad. And I think that will very much benefit him as that kind of that role as well. And I think it will make him step up and be more of a leader. And I think he already is one. I think you saw how he kind of grabbed games by the scruff of the neck playing that number 10 position last year when Maddison was out injured. And again, like I said, with the fact that he's training centrally more often now, even while Maddison is around, shows you that is maybe where Ange sees his future. And again, like we spoke about earlier, when we were talking about the signings potentially, I think there'll be a lot of fluidity and a lot of movement and changes in games where Kulu will start on the right and then he'll come and play inside and Johnson will come on at half time, etc. Those kind of things, or Johnson will start and maybe Kulu will come off the bench or whatever. But and I think in pre-season he's been superb. Like, he obviously got an assist with that back heel against Vissel Kobe, set up Basuma's goal, played a massive part in the goal, the first goal against Hearts with that little flick round the corner. He just looks a lot more confident playing in that number 10 position as well.
Yeah,
like, I think so. When you go back to last season, Nottingham Forest, when he was wearing the mask, Man City away, like those games where he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck in that number 10 position, I think he... And I remember even the Aston Villa game at home where we lost, he was superb. Newcastle, he was incredible at home playing that number 10 position. So I think it almost brings out this. Kulusevski's a great player anyway, and yes, he can be frustrating playing on the wing sometimes because he can be a bit predictable. He's maybe not as quick as you'd like for an Ange winger, or as dynamic. But I think he's such an amazing footballer. Like I've always loved Kulu ever since he came, and I think one thing that stands out is definitely his mentality. One thing that he also talked about that I found quite interesting is the tactical changes kind of in training this year, which I'm just trying to get up now, because I think everything's starting to make a bit more sense in terms of the long-term picture for Spurs. So he said, where was it? Sorry, hang on, mate. There's so many good quotes from the interview. I keep losing.
Yeah. It was quality, mate. The interview,
really good. I'm trying to find the right one.
It's about like the real detailed training sessions.
So he said last year, he alluded to changing the training in one of the quotes, and Alistair Gold kind of pulled the thread on that a little bit. He said, he talks about the consistency. He said, this club has to be challenging at the top, and I think we showed glimpses of that last year, but we have to do it for one whole year, and I think that's maybe the harder part of it, to not play good for maybe a month and then go down a little bit. I think you have to do it the whole year, like the other teams like Man City and Arsenal did last year, so that's what we're trying to train. I noticed already a little bit of a change in the training, and we are very, very focused on doing much better than last year. Then he followed that up by saying, oh God, I keep spelling his bloody name wrong. I'm like someone's dad going Kulusevski. He said, actually, we should ask that. What is one thing? I think either they did this on Jaffin or maybe Fighting Cock. Like your dad or something does at football that really winds you up, because one of them is consistently not be able to pronounce players' names right, and people do it with Kulusevski all the time and call him
it's
Kulusevski.
Almost like they do it on purpose as well.
I know.
How does your comment down, like say it how they say it, how they pronounce it? How does your dad say Kulusevski?
But he said
you'll get so many different answers.
He said on the training, he said last year was much more just play and do your things, but now it's much more, they've been thinking about a lot training sessions and trying to make everyone understand what they want from them in the team. Someone then dug up a quote from Ange. I don't know what game this was after, but it was in April. So it might have been a Newcastle game. It might have been in a press conference, potentially off the back of what Eric Dyer was saying. Do you remember that? When he said, we didn't go into the tactical aspect too much.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know the context of this, but it was from April. And the quote goes, the Australian admitted that after the game, I think this might have been the Newcastle game, the Australian admitted that he's still not going into exhaustive tactical detail yet with his team. This season has been mostly about imprinting the style of play he demands so clearly that it becomes instinct, and then he can really drill into certain facets of how they play, which will bring in the next exciting step of the Postecoglou era. He then said, it's a constant evolution of the team. It's very much broad strokes. It's not about the detail at the moment. It's about trying to develop the identity of what we want to be as a team. And the game model doesn't change because of one game or a couple of performances and the players are responding to that. So I think it might have been off the back of Newcastle, because it sounds like it's off the back of a loss. And someone, credit to this guy, Smizzo8202 on Twitter, who kind of joined the dots with this. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And I do think you'll see a more structured Tottenham. I do think you'll see a more maybe disciplined Tottenham. So I think we can be very excited about this. And Harry Brooks talked about this when we were on the Ripple Effect. Sort about there has to be structure, but there has to be freedom within that kind of game plan and structure to really allow these players to thrive. And I think that's the blend that we're finding now with Spurs. And I am really excited about next season. I know a lot of people are getting like a bit down about the transfer stuff, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think we can be very, very good. Genuinely, I think we could challenge for like top 3. I genuinely believe that.
And I think this project's going to take time, and with there's such an extreme juxtaposition between Conte and Postecoglou within a year, within about 6 months, and that transfer in football and philosophy doesn't happen overnight. No. So what Postecoglou's been doing is drilling into the psyche certain movements, certain patterns of play, like that archetype Postecoglou goal that we constantly see, that even Mikey Moore then he scored. Donnelly cut it back for Mikey Moore, and it's like it's so the emphasis on that move alone is so detailed and extreme that it's almost part of the player's instinct now. And part of the stimulus, like you see that move, you can see it happening before it even happens, and the players get in the positions. And okay, people get frustrated by and keep saying, "Oh, this move is all we do." Well, sometimes you need patterns of play to just keep keep rinsing,
Yeah.
and suddenly it will be so drilled into your psyche, like I was saying.
Look at Arsenal. Look at Man City.
That's done.
That's
Yeah, that's done. And then that will be a part of every game. And then you can move on to the more detailed stuff, more detailed movements, the positioning. And I just think we got such a young team. You don't want to overwhelm them with all this tactical changes, all the little, like the mustard detail, all that sort of the elements of that of the game where. What am I trying to say? I just fucking lost my pattern of thought. But you want to do it a step at a time. You don't. So we have patterns of play that we have constantly produced throughout the first season, and I'm now expecting us to kick on and be inventive in other patterns of play and more detailed approaches than just what we were seeing last year. And that will happen. That will be the evolution of Angeball. It was such a drastic change from where we were to what we're doing now.
Yeah.
That it's going to take time. Things are going to be implemented at different phases. There's phases to this project. And I think people were almost expecting it to happen overnight. But what Postecoglou has embedded, I mean, we haven't even touched upon it, that we're Tottenham players, let's play the Tottenham way quote from Postecoglou, but also him saying, keep playing, keep moving, keep getting the positions. He's drilling into the stimuli to what he wants from individual players to express their creativity, and drilling in the patterns of play he wants to see. And now it's onto the minor details, and it's exciting. It's so exciting, but things totally will have to take time to. But it's exciting that Kulusevski is mentioning that in the quotes. But I mean, what an elite character and amazing player to have. You forget how young he is. So I remember when that letter to the fan thing came out for Kulusevski, everyone was going mental about it. It was amazing. Yeah, exactly. He is just an elite athlete, and his mentality is what you want in the dressing room. Again, going back to Yang, he fits the profile player that we're bringing in. That young player that is humble, grounded, and has that fuck. Why can't I think? I think I'm so hot, mate. I'm so hot. What's it called? The ambition. He has that ambition to reach the top, and he has players he's looking to that he wants to be in the same conversation. He's going to want to be the next Son in his mind. He's going to want to be the next Son. Kulusevski, he's taken Bergvall under his wing, and they're both and that character is contagious.
Yeah.
And
Alistair Gold said, didn't he? He's like, they've been inseparable on this tour, like Bergvall and Kulusevski. Like every time you see them, they're together. Like he's very much looking after him. And I think that's, like I said earlier in the pod, like I think it's a great signing for Kulusevski, because it's like, I think he's a leader anyway. I said that earlier. I think he's a leader in terms of the way he carries himself on the pitch and how hard that he works. And I think Bardi said this on the Extra Inch, and he kind of coined this phrase of Kulusevski as almost like a Trojan. And I think he's definitely got that. And I almost think having this young guy that's come in to almost put his arm around and look after, I think that's just going to help that massively. I do. Again, it's not why we signed him, but it's just like, yeah, I'm very much excited about Kulusevski next season. I think his versatility is going to help us out massively. And I just think people forget how fucking good of a player he is. He's such a good player.
Yeah, he's quality. I think we'll leave it there, mate. We'll leave it there. I genuinely believe that I've burnt about 1,000 calories just sat in the seat.
Yeah,
I'm fucking
podcast is
blacking out. Yeah. Anyway, everyone, you're all legends. Thank you so much for joining us. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed, and just hit it anyways, even if you didn't enjoy it. And we'll be back soon, and hopefully we may have exercised those 3 transfer options. Maybe.
Yeah. We shall see.
Are we going to do it? Find out next time. Yeah. I'm daring and doing. Everyone, Ben, thanks so much. Everyone, take care, mate.
COYS.